Member for Naparima.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, once again, we come before this House to waste precious time. I listened to the member for Laventille West, the Honorable Fitzgerald Ethelberg Hines, and he...
Remember here, we don't call people by their names, okay?
Thank you. The Honorable... I listened to the Minister of National Security, and Madam Speaker, he wasted over time. How do you speak for 55 minutes and provide no hope, no enlightenment, no vision for a safe and secure future? Madam Speaker, and I go back to the words of my political leader, who said that there can be no prosperity without safety in Trinidad and Tobago. Madam Speaker, if there were a poster child for incompetence, ineptitude, cluelessness, underperformance, inadequacy, ineffectiveness, it is the Honorable member for Laventille West.
Okay, so I'm just going to guide you a bit. Remember, we're not at all about personal invectives. Okay, so try to temper that approach.
Yep.
Just warning you for going forward.
Yeah. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister of National Security spoke about the interagency task force making 30,951 patrols last year. What the minister refuses to tell us is that in the Princestown police station, for example, there are only 2 vehicles to serve over 30,000 residents. And Madam Speaker, when the criminals know and they call for crime, they know, and the police, one of the vehicles head to that situation, they commit crimes elsewhere. Madam Speaker, the Minister of National Security spoke about developing an education program for the migrants, and that is commendable. But how many of our teachers are trained to deliver a bilingual education program in the Southwest Peninsula? Madam Speaker, we hear talk about 521 firearms recovered, but for every firearm recovered, there are 10s and 20 and 30 times that arriving on our porous borders every single day. But Madam Speaker, as a courts employee in High Street expressed to the Guardian media reporters on the budget day, he said, this is P&M, anything could take place. Nothing good is happening. It's only talk they talk, and they don't walk the talk, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last year, Mr. Deputy Speaker, last year I spoke about the serious deficiencies in the allocations for the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service during the Standing Finance Committee session on October the 6th. Ignoring me and numerous statements by the Fire Service Association, the Minister of National Security boasted in October 2020 that he believed that the allocation was considered, and I quote, appropriate and adequate, end of quote. Saying days later that he had, quote, no outstanding and massive requests from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services for equipment for vehicles. And that was reported in The Guardian, October 11, 2022. Had we, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and here I speak about honest engagement and serious engagement, had he been open to meaningful engagement and understood his limitations, then maybe Kemba Morris and her 8-year-old daughter, who died in a fire earlier this year because there were no fire trucks available at the nearby Siparia fire station, that those persons would still be alive today. The Minister of Finance said that they are allocated money to purchase new fire trucks and to repair and maintain old ones. Yet, we see a 1.17 million decrease in fuel allocation for the fire service. So you have more trucks and you provide less money for fuels. That is the kind of nonsense that passes for budgeting, serious budgeting in Trinidad and Tobago. So that is why I speak about we are wasting time in this chamber. Madam Speaker, had the minister treated seriously with the question of providing equipment for the Trinidad and Tobago fire services last year, perhaps last week's incident, and I take this moment to extend condolences to the family of the 13-month-old Harley Prasad. Perhaps if neighbors had confidence in Minister Hines' fire service and its ability to respond swiftly, then they would have called the fire service first, then endeavor to extinguish fire themselves. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the United States Fire Administration, the National Fire Data Center, tells us that unless fire appliances arrive in less than 11 minutes, then their impact is minimal. In the UK Fire and Rescue Service has an average response time of 9 minutes and 12 seconds across all of England. Let me read that again. Let me say that again. The UK Fire and Rescue Service has an average response time of 9 minutes and 12 seconds. So I asked the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Finance, who is leaving, whether it is true that 90% of our fire stations cannot respond to most fires in under 11 minutes, which is the international benchmark. I asked Minister Hines if it is true that 90% of our fire hydrants are non-functional. Can the one appliance in Princestown Fire Station, for example, arrive in Marak, 25 miles away, on a road filled with potholes and landslides and other hazards in under 9 minutes? I'm told it will take at least 1 hour. I'm told that by the Member of Parliament for Moruga Tableland, my good friend. 1 hour. But the world benchmark says that it takes 9 minutes to function effectively. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, before I continue in national security, I wish to make a point raised by the Minister of Finance in terms of our foreign exchange. With regard to foreign exchange, the Minister of Finance rambled on steps being contemplated to deal with our foreign exchange shortage. I'm switching gears. Mr. Deputy Speaker, no matter how you try to concoct engineering solutions to our foreign exchange situations, and in spite of the nonsense spewed by our ambassador to Guyana, the reality is that we have a shortage of foreign exchange, full stop. If you're earning less, you will have less available. And this government has failed miserably to create new sources of foreign exchange revenues. What we know for sure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that the allocations of what precious little foreign exchange we have favors family, friends, and financiers of the PNM and Balize House. And if I raise the issue of unfair allocation of scarce foreign exchange in this House, nothing will happen. The poor, the 99%, those without a favored PNM party card, those who refuse to contribute to Balize House refurbishment will have to line up and beg for a US $200 allocation. We have to beg, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for foreign exchange, even if we have a US account in the same bank. Meanwhile, the big boys get millions to invest in the US to purchase assets. Franchise holders get millions to kill us with processed foods. Others, just by over-invoicing, sold away in foreign accounts, waiting on the right time to migrate. And I asked the question, how did Massey get US $47 million to buy a supermarket chain in America? Just asking for a friend. Either they use our foreign exchange to invest abroad and did not repatriate their profits, or they use favored status with the banks to acquire foreign exchange, or they fired workers to enhance profits, which they use to get more foreign exchange. But I want to make the point, it is our foreign exchange derived from energy earnings and resources which God put in the soil, in the ground. Jah Rastafari, or Oludumare, whichever name you want to call him, in his infinite wisdom, has bestowed on all 1.4 million of our citizens the oil in the ground, which in turn is monetized into foreign exchange. So is it being used not in the interest of the 1.4 million of us? So I know I will not get answers in this house. I will not get. But my constituents, especially those involved in small businesses, have asked me to find out. That is why I've taken matters outside of this house and written to the banks themselves regarding their policies for disbursing foreign exchange to us long-suffering citizens. On Friday last, I wrote the CEOs of FCB, Scotiabank, and Republic Bank seeking clarification regarding their foreign exchange allocations and their policies. I asked the following. 1, what are your bank's policies regarding persons holding US accounts and wishing to access those funds? 2, what are your foreign exchange allocation policies for those who do not hold US accounts but wish to travel, for example, for medical treatment? 3, what are your policies for determining which small businesses receive foreign exchange and which do not? 4, what are your policies in place for large business owners conducting franchise operations? How do you prioritize them? 5, what are your policies regarding families wishing to send their children abroad to study? And 6, what are your policies for businesses wishing to purchase assets abroad? So, Deputy Speaker, I await a reply, and if I get it upon receipt, I will inform citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I ask all this in the context that other countries are taking steps to rein in their banks. Barbados' central bank governor, Cleviston Haynes, was mandated by Prime Minister Mia Mottley to investigate the issue of bank fees, which are said to be among the factors driving the rising cost of goods. Mia cares for our citizens, it would appear, but Dr. Rowley, our Prime Minister, prefers to play golf and travel. President Biden, in his State of the Union address on February 7, 2023, boasted that he reduced late payments charges for credit cards from $30 to $8. But banks in Trinidad and Tobago are given free rein. Are banks taking advantage of us? They know, for example, that every month pensioners visit banks. Would they employ more staff on mountains to shorten the process time? No. Would they liaise with the TTPS to beef up security for the elderly pensioners on mountain? No. Mr. Deputy Speaker, when I asked our Prime Minister in this Parliament, in a parliamentary question, if he would do as Mia Mottley and Biden had done, he became a raging bull. I go to security national security. This budget, and I want to make the point, will not improve national security in Trinidad and Tobago. The finance minister rambled for 4 hours and 8 minutes and said nothing whatsoever about reducing our murder rates. I heard nothing from the finance minister, nothing from the Minister of National Security on increasing crime detection rates. You see, what we get from the other side is a list of things that they're doing. 8 years they're here providing lists, but they're not telling us about the outputs of those lists, the consequences of those lists, and the measurable indices that improve our lives. Nothing we heard today on crime, on increasing crime detection rates. Nothing on improving convictions. Nothing on deterring criminals. Nothing about fully staffing the DPP office. Nothing about getting the Forensic Science Center accredited and fully functional. Through these allocations, we are only seeing the stage being set for more and more crime. Is this finance minister aware that increased economic hardships lead to escalating crime? And when you fail at reducing crime, you fail every sector of the economy and every person in this country. Already we spend more per capita than many countries in the world on national security. Clearly, we are not receiving value for money. According to an article written in The Guardian, dated October 3rd, 2023, and I quote, "The Ministry of National Security has more funding than many prestigious international organizations such as Interpol, which has a budget of around 170 million euros, or around 1.36 billion at a conversion rate of 8-to-1. But our budget for national security is 5 times that of Interpol. Our budget is 6.9 million. Interpol's is 1.36 billion. It goes on to say, we, Trinidad and Tobago, spend 3.38% of our GDP on national security. For comparison, the UK spends just 2.1% of its GDP on defense. And our neighbor Barbados spends only 0.9% of GDP on defense, according to the CIA World Factbook. Though this figure may not include spending on its police service. So we are spending money. We are making lists. The minister could tell us about all kinds of activities, but we are not getting value for money. Clearly, this administration policies are not governed by data or international benchmarks. We see this lack of data-driven policies with the government's plan to increase the TTPS recruitment from 300 to 1,000 per year. What is the data upon which that is based? On numerous occasions, we on this side have provided data to show that the problem is not more police, but better management of the TTPS. You can give them $80 million of vehicles. If you do not have management maintenance processes, they end up in the junkyard. We currently have 7,000 regular police, plus 3,000 SRPs. That's 10,000. Add over 5,000 Army officers we are told are available to assist with patrols. So over 15,000 officers are available. Yet Toronto has only 5,500 policemen for twice our population. And their police are more visible on the streets. And that city's murder rate is 1/5 of ours. The problem is not police. The question is management, pure and simple. Even the Prime Minister admitted during his conversations with the Prime Minister in February 2017 that 6,000 police and 2,000 SRP officers we had at that time was far above world benchmarks per capita. He also said that we had enough officers and we are providing the resources to the TTPS, but the problem was with the systems. Why did the Minister of Finance advance the idiocy of adding 700 more police officers? And we ask the question, what is the return on investment on that expenditure? For heaven's sake, the 2017 police manpower audit stated clearly that the TTPS was more than adequately staffed with a ratio of 494 officers per 100,000 of population. It further went on to state that what was needed was more effective utilization of available manpower resources. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we were promised 7 years ago 1,400 municipal police. 7 years later today, in the Princeton Regional Corporation, only 33 of the 100 promised have been appointed, with only 2 working vehicles for a population of 130,000. Spinning top in mud. You provide $80 million allocation for vehicles, only for them to end up in junkyards. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have to ask this, if this government is serious. They do not know what they are doing. And worse, they do not know that they do not know. They operate by VAPs. Mr. Deputy Speaker, all the institutions, notwithstanding what we heard today, all the institutions run by the Minister of National Security are in shambles. Let's deal with some. The Coast Guard. As with the TTPS, unless the management of our Coast Guard is improved, our borders will continue to be porous. All the government has done for the Coast Guard in this budget is throw money at building improvements and vessel maintenance. They allocated $100 million for logistic support and maintenance of the 12 Diamond vessels that they received brand new in 2016. They neglected these vessels for years out of spite, allowed them to rot, and now they have to spend $100 million to fix them. I recall, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Minister of National Security in his response to a written question I asked about border protection capabilities. This is what he said, quote, "The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard does not currently have and never had enough vessels to provide a 24-hour patrol service along all areas of our entire coastline." That is in The Guardian, May 25, 2023. So we are getting confirmation now through this budget that the lack of coastal patrols was because these 12 Diamond vessels were not properly maintained and operational. In this budget, fuel and lubricants is allocated $9.5 million to the Coast Guard. While it might appear to be $3.5 million increase over 2023, in 2022, the actual amount was $9.4. So we are spending in 2024 the same as we spent 2 years before, when the 12 Diamond vessels were not working, when we did not have the 2 additional brand new hostile boats, and you spend the same. And in 2024, with increased fuel prices, you are telling us essentially that less fuel is needed for the Coast Guard. Mr. Deputy Speaker, even if they claim that our naval vessels are not sufficient to patrol our borders 24/7, why did we not see an allocation to fund new surveillance methods? In 2021, the U.S. Navy did a demonstration with our Defense Force in the use of drone called Scan Eagle, which could be utilized to search for potential contacts of interest that might be transporting illicit drugs in our waters. This Scan Eagle drone has a 60-mile vision radius. This could be an integral part of our border security to supplement the radar system, which every year we are told is working, but still drugs wash up on our shores in Mayaro. Why did we not see, if you were trained by the US Navy, why didn't we not see you operationalizing this by giving us the requisite drones? Why not an allocation for a similar drone for Coast Guard? Let's go to the fire service, the second institution that is collapsing under the Minister of National Security. Like all other areas under national security, the allocations are not governed by data. President of the Fire Services Association, Leo Ramkisoon, said after the budget presentation, quote, "Imbert rubbed salt in our wounds," end of quote. Our firemen are still, as recent as September last month, 2023, saying that there is a shortage of appliances and vehicles, expressed September 11, 2023. Deputy Treasurer of the Fire Service Association, Acting Fire Sub-Officer Mohammed, said, quote, "Officers sometimes use their own vehicles to respond to emergencies and sometimes use garden hoses to help control fires," end of quote. Imagine that. How embarrassing. We have billions in national security allocations, more than the international agencies like Interpol, and officers using their own vehicles for rescue responses. He further said that of the 11 fire stations in the Northern Division, 6 have no tenders. Are we serious in this country? Out of 11 fire stations in Northern Division, 6 have no tenders. At any time, there were hundreds of officers on duty, but there are about 10 sets of breathing apparatus in the whole fire service, and they have to be shared among officers. That is Newsday, September 17, 2023. We are told today that there are breathing apparatus, equipment for all fire officers. But a month ago, 2 weeks ago, we are told by the fire officers themselves that there are 10 sets of breathing apparatus in the whole of the fire service, and they have to share breathing apparatus among officers. Yet, allocations have only been listed for Mayaro, for Penal and Point Fortin. So we have 11 fire stations in North Trinidad, only 6 have tenders. But allocations in this budget for only Mayaro, Penal, and Point Fortin. What a shame! What a disgrace! What an embarrassment! When will all our fire officers across all stations be equipped with breathing apparatus sets? They're not serious. Let's go to prisons. Sir Ron Richards, past president of the Prison Officers Association, used to plead with the government about working conditions for prison officers till he was blue in the face. Year after year, we get the P&M list. We're doing this, we're doing that, but the equipment never reaches the prison services. Last week, the new president, Gerald Gordon, flagged, quote, "Aging infrastructure, including broken air conditioning units, no functioning alarm, issues surrounding communications as a major concern for prison officers operating at the maximum security facility." That's the Guardian, September 22nd, 2023. He described the maximum security prison as a ticking time bomb. Yet today, we hear the minister giving us the list of all the things that they're doing, and they're not doing one thing for improving the quality of security in Trinidad and Tobago. It is hard to take, Mr. Deputy Speaker. A ticking time bomb. That is the maximum security prison, as described by the President Gerald Gordon. Nothing in this budget to address these issues at the maximum security prison. Only one meager allocation for the MSP, for an alarm system. Let's look at the SSA. And I want to ask the Minister of National Security to give me an undertaking that the SSA does not spy on opposition members in this parliament. I want a yes or no, not an obfuscatory, long-winded answer.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, Standing Order 48.6, please.
Mr. Deputy.
Okay, members. Okay, right? Thanks to the discourse, members, but again, it will not continue to be tolerated. All right, I know a little banter at times, but again, you know, let's keep the decorum going nicely as it has been going all morning. Right. So, member for Naparima, right? You want to ask a question?
Yes.
Right. So just state you would like this question to be answered, and again, I don't like how you had put it across.
Thank you very much.
Right.
I would like this question to be answered. Could somebody, somewhere, give us an undertaking that our emails and our phones are not monitored by the SSA? I thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The SSA's budget was increased by 20 million. Their budget is now $270 million. I want the minister to quit. I want to indicate that something is not right with the SSA budget. In 2022, they got $287 million, an additional $66 million in the media review. Yet we see in the budget books before us today, actual spend for 2022 is $246. So they got $287 and an additional $266, but the expenditure is much less. And for 2022 is $246. Why did you ask for additional funding in the media review? You see, there's a joke with this budgeting process. It's a joke. The lifeguards. The past president of the Lifeguard Association, Augusta Sylvester, has repeatedly made requests for refurbishment of patrol towers and more equipment. Just last week, the president of the Lifeguard Association, the current president, Anthony Paul, confirmed that, quote, there were no lifeguards patrolling beaches because of the dilapidated conditions of the tower, as well as the lack of transport from the headquarters. Guardian, September 27, 2023. You come and you give us a list. We do not want a list. We want results. We want a safe society. We need safe beaches where children can bathe in safety. He claimed, this is the president of the Lifeguard Association, they also had manpower shortages, and requests for discussions with the government have been ignored. So, Deputy Speaker, I think it is clear that this government is not serious about any aspect of national security. Our national security personnel beg, they cry, and they bawl for the same things every year, begging this government to do the job for which they are paid handsomely. They're repeatedly disregarded. The PNM has no clue on how to allocate, spend, or operationalize allocate or spend or operationalize institute or agencies under the Ministry of National Security. They're versed in fancy talk. It is no wonder that systems are failing miserably, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I want to look at the question of and my leader spoke about that, prioritizing crime suppression instead of crime rehabilitation and crime prevention. Instead of preventing citizens from becoming criminals, this PNM administration has taken the opportunity to use crime as a money-making enterprise to fill the pockets of friends and financiers. Millions paid to transport prisoners to court.
Standing Order 486, please.
Yes, again, remember you clearly know what you're doing, so I'd like you to retract and again see over, please.
I retract.
And put it across appropriately.
Yes, I retract. Millions paid to transport prisoners to court. Millions paid. In briefs, exempt from procurement oversight. But vision on mission, a program for rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners, ex-prisoners, delinquent youth, and deported nationals, got a cut in their allocation by $1.5 million. Unconscionable. At some point, the government must realize that it is a waste of resources, a waste of human capital, a waste of time, and a waste of money to focus so wholeheartedly and short-sightedly on arrests. The minister spoke about arrests in Guanapo. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I wish to make the point that we, in a law-abiding society, we look at convictions, not arrests. You cannot have a ton load of arrests and zero convictions and call that performance. 4-H clubs, $50,000, but $270 million to the SSA. Police youth clubs, $1.5 million, but you could find money for the SSA. Mr. Deputy Speaker, my portfolio includes foreign and CARICOM affairs. All of these national security failings have resulted in a global image crisis for Trinidad and Tobago. The damage this country has caused to our global image is irreparable. After being gifted with the President of the General Assembly, our Prime Minister goes to this year's UN General Assembly and tells the world that we have mass killings in Guanapo in Trinidad, and we are depending on the US to pass legislation to stop guns from arriving on our shores. Somebody needs to tell our Prime Minister that stopping guns from coming into our country is a responsibility of his government to ensure that there's operational scanners at the port. Not we are buying or we allocating, but they are functioning. Somebody needs to tell our Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security that they need to get our Coast Guard operationalized 24/7 to stop the guns, arms, ammunition from coming into our country. The Prime Minister appeals to the United States Executive, which cannot pass laws requiring background checks for citizens purchasing military-grade assault rifles in the US. They can't pass background checks, and you want that same government to pass laws to stop guns from coming here? Dr. Rowley's request showed a poor appreciation of the stranglehold which the National Rifle Association has on United States domestic politics, and even the Supreme Court regarding the Second Amendment of the US Constitution. Dr. Rowley fails to realize, as I said before, it is our job, and our job alone, to secure our borders. You cannot outsource our porous borders to the United States. It is our responsibility as an independent, proud nation. Other factors affecting our global image. The United States, in their latest travel advisory, updated July 17, 2023, downgraded Trinidad and Tobago to level 3. Hear what they're telling their citizens: reconsider travel to Trinidad and Tobago due to crime. They're telling the citizens now, don't come to Trinidad and Tobago because of the ineptitude of the Minister of National Security. The Trinidad rated Tier 2 in the US Trafficking in Persons report, set to be further downgraded to Tier 3 next year. Now, the minister told us that he's taking action and he's hoping that we would not be downgraded. I wish him well. But the US is calling for convictions, not arrests. The World Population Review in 2023 lists Trinidad and Tobago as having the 6th highest overall crime rate in the world and the 12th highest murder rate. There are reports of 12 Saudi diplomats allegedly robbed in Port of Spain. Thanks. In July 2023, while returning home from dinner. And the media is keeping this quiet. Is it true, I ask? Is it true, yes or no, that 4 Saudi diplomats were robbed in Port of Spain in July this year? Trinidad and Tobago flagged for police impunity, treatment of asylum seekers, corruption, and trafficking of persons as areas of major concern in the U.S. State Department 2022 country report on the human rights practices. This is what the world is saying about us. This is not parliament where you could get up standing order, whatever, and silence. You cannot silence the U.S. State Department. Trinidad and Tobago is still on an EU list of non-cooperative jurisdictions for tax purposes as a tax haven. That hurts, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because I was in the subcommittee where we asked the Minister of Finance, tell us all that we need to get off the EU blacklist. All that you need. He promised us 4 pieces of legislation. We supported the 4 pieces of legislation. And today we are still on the EU blacklist for tax evasion. Denmark terminated its double taxation agreement with Trinidad and Tobago in December 2021. Denmark. Norway, tax treaty with us will take effect. The termination of their tax treaty with us will take effect in January 2024. I just make the point that Norway is not part of the EU. But these countries are saying there is something wrong in the state of Denmark in Trinidad and Tobago. You cannot fool the EU. The European Commission, hear this, issued Trinidad and Tobago with a red card for being a non-cooperating country in the fight against illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. This was an escalation of the yellow card, that Trinidad and Tobago received in 2016. Not when we were in power, not when the People's Partnership was in power. 2016, they came in. 2017, we got struck off the EU. We were put on the EU watch list. 2017, a year before.
Honourable Member, you have approximately 2 more minutes of your initial speaking time. You have an additional 10. You care to avail yourself?
Yes, I will.
Proceed.
Thank you. Yeah. Both the EU blacklist and the red card and the yellow card by the EU Commission was given when the PNM was in government. You know what hurts, Mr. Deputy Speaker, about this red card? You know what hurts? Is that Trinidad and Tobago has a judge who served on ITLAS, that is the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. And this judge is a world-renowned expert in drafting the required legislation to remove the red flag. But this government does not like competence. They do not like professionalism. They do not like intellectualism. They do not like performance. So they ignore this expert, and traditionally Trinidad has always had, we were world renowned when it came to the law of the sea. Lennox Bala introduced ITLAS. We were so renowned at the UN that whenever we put up a candidate for ITLAS as a judge of the ITLAS, a member of the ITLAS, they were unopposed. When Lennox Bala died, he was replaced unopposed by a Trinidad judge, Justice Anthony Lucky. He was replaced. You know what? It just came up 2 or 3 years ago for re-election. And we were elected. We did not have, did we? No, we did not have. We refused to put up a candidate. So that whole expertise that Lennox Bala and those gentlemen of yesteryear, that excellence that they bequeathed to this government has now been abandoned. And today, we are on a red flag for illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. So we have issues with Barbados, with flying fish. We should be setting the benchmark laws that the world should be referring to. But under this PNM administration, everything is going into disrepair and abandonment. Everything. One thing this government can do well and proficiently is spend money and reap no tangible benefits. They spent $3.4 on a regional crime symposium in April 2023. No anti-crime plan has come out of the discussions. No reduction in murders, no measurable reduction in murders or other crimes since the symposium. And if you ask them about it, we'll get a list of talk. But they would not tell you that because we had that conference, the murder rate declined by 10%. And by the way, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Jamaica this year has a 12% reduction in the murder rate. They could speak to actual measurable reduction. We are holding fast and hoping that it remains at the same level, and we are all keeping our fingers crossed as citizens of this country. They bribed CARICOM heads by meeting all expenses for the symposium.
Member, I'll prefer a different word, please. Withdraw, I'll prefer a different word.
A different word for a day?
You said a word there.
All right.
I will prefer.
They agreed to pay all the expenses of the CARICOM heads. I know when we go to conferences at the UN and wherever, we pay our own expenses, we pay our own hotels and whatnot. Why should the taxpayer be paying for others to come and attend a conference that we are hosting? It means that it is not important. We have to supplement it. Even though Trinidad and Tobago hosted the CARICOM Golden Jubilee celebrations in July 2023 at a cost of approximately $9 million, and the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games, which were estimated to cost more than $35 million, our international image is one of a crime-infested country that is on everybody's blacklist and everybody's tier 2 watch list. And when we talk about this, they say we are unpatriotic. I want to make the point that we are as patriotic as anybody. When the Minister of Energy said that he went on numerous conferences to advance the energy interests of Trinidad and Tobago, and he went to 8 and 10 and whatnot in the United States. What he's not telling us is that he, as Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, received $809,899.53 in per diems between October 2015 to September 2022. If you're patriotic, donate that to the Trinidad and Tobago Children's Life Fund. Do that. And these per diems paid in US currency. Our Prime Minister got $1.5 million between 2015 to 2022. And we wonder why there's a forex shortage in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we paid $999,000 to buy 20 wooden ladders for the fire service at $50,000 each. $50,000 each. And we are wooden ladder, and we told that the wooden ladders are needed for high voltage overhead lines. And we only got that because a citizen, a patriotic citizen, asks a FOIA. Let me tell this government something. San Francisco Fire Department makes its own wooden ladders. Why it is everything that this administration touches, it is riddled with question marks. It is riddled with questions that require that would make you want to feel that something is wrong in the state of Denmark. And this contract for the 20 wooden ladders was $999,000, under $1 million. You know the reason for that? Under $1 million. 950, well, I want to tell the government on that side, I will make the wooden ladders for $10,000. So you will save $40,000. Excuse me?
Again, no, member, please, you'll have your opportunity to enter the debate, please. Let's don't do it that way.
Yes. I want to make the point, this last point, that this administration, 4 minutes, this administration has benefited from work done by the previous government. So this PNM had benefited from work done by the member of Siparia while she was Prime Minister in 2013, and when I was the TT ambassador to the UN. All of the work done by our previous administration to ensure TT's current position as President of the UN General Assembly. This diplomatic success has fallen short because of the myriad of embarrassments and downgrading and poor ratings that we have endured because of this PNM administration, led by the member for Digo Martin West. Conclusion. Under this PNM administration, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Trinidad and Tobago now feels like a war zone, a battleground, a place that gives us no hope, a place we can no longer recognize, a place which unfortunately some citizens are beginning to consider the inconceivable, leaving sweet Trinidad and Tobago. We heard it from the lady who was dragged out of the bank and taken to US and beaten and kicked. And she said, as a dual citizen, she is not coming back to Trinidad and Tobago. A Venezuelan father of the 1-year-old baby who was shot a few weeks ago. You know what he said? Trinidad and Tobago was no better than his homeland of Venezuela. No. That is where we reach. This is not the UNC talking. This is the world. This is Venezuelans in Trinidad. And this is everybody, citizens who are dual citizens, are saying she is not coming back to Trinidad. That's where we reach. But as they say, time is longer than twine. This PNM administration is in departure lounge. As Brooke Benton says in his famous song, what goes up must come down. And he ends the song by saying, it's just a matter of time. I thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.